I wasn't planning on going anywhere that weekend. It was one of those weeks too much screen time, too much caffeine, and the kind of mental fatigue where your brain buzzes like a dying phone battery. I wanted silence, trees, a bed that didn't creak every time I rolled over. So I opened the Airbnb app, expecting to find nothing affordable within 100 miles of my city. Instead, I found it. Secluded forest cabin, total privacy, nature lover's dream. No address, just located near Black Hollow Woods. Only 3 photos, but they were beautiful. A cozy log cabin surrounded by a curtain of thick pine trees. Soft amber light glowed through the windows. A porch swing, a fire pit, a single rocking chair facing the forest. It looked like a stock photo, too perfect to be real. The price was suspiciously low, or at $5.99 per night. And the reviews? Dozens of them, all 5 stars. But each one was just a single sentence. So peaceful. Best sleep I've ever had. Didn't want to leave, and still don't. Third night is different. That last one made me pause. Third night is different? What did that mean? I clicked on the host profile. No photo, no name, just hosted since 2014. I sent a message asking for more info, the check-in process, exact location, Wi-Fi availability. I expected a delay or silence. Instead, a response popped up in under a minute. Hi, your name. The cabin will be ready. Key under the mat. No Wi-Fi, no cell signal. You'll find peace here. See you soon. That was it. I should have trusted my instincts and passed, but something pulled me in. Maybe it was the cabin itself, the glow, the stillness in the photos. Maybe I just needed to unplug, escape, be alone. I booked it. 3 nights, Friday through Monday. The confirmation screen loaded normally, but oddly no map appeared. Just a note. GPS may not work near the forest. Follow the pinned directions attached to this message. There was a PDF file with rough turn-by-turn instructions. The last line read, road ends at the red marker stone. Walk 300 meters north. You'll see it. The weirdest thing? The cabin wasn't listed on my Airbnb account after booking. No upcoming trips. No record of payment. I thought it was a glitch. Took screenshots just in case. The next day, I packed. Some groceries, phone charger, flashlight, notebook. I debated bringing a weapon, maybe a pocket knife, but laughed it off. It's just a cabin, not a horror movie. As I loaded my car, a strange chill passed through me, despite the afternoon sun. I brushed it off. By 5 p.m., I was driving into the country. My GPS worked fine until I hit the forest line. Then it froze. Just like the PDF said, the last road was cracked and narrow, barely wide enough for my car. Wild branches clawed at the side mirrors. Eventually, I found it a weathered red stone planted in the dirt, marked with faint white paint, Torrent. I parked beside it, stepped out, and instantly felt something heavy settle into the air. The forest was too quiet. No birds, no wind. Just the sound of my own breath. I walked. Every step deeper into the woods felt like sinking. Like the trees themselves were tilting inward, trying to fold me into something older than time. But then I saw it through the trees. The cabin. It looked exactly like the pictures. Too much so. The same angle, the same warm light. The same rocking chair creaking gently on the porch, even though there was no wind. My chest tightened. I considered turning back, but curiosity won. It always does. The key was under the mat, just like the message said. The door creaked open with a slow, breathy sound like the house itself was exhaling. Inside was cozy, dim, clean, but lived in. A faint scent of pine and lavender. A fireplace, a couch, a small kitchen. A narrow hallway leading to a single bedroom. There was a note on the fridge, handwritten in black marker. Welcome. Please respect the house. No mirrors after dark. Don't open the basement door. If someone knocks, do not answer. Enjoy your stay. I stared at it for a long time. I thought it was a joke, some weird viral marketing bit, something to scare city kids looking for forest vibes. So I laughed. I laughed. And then I took a picture of the note and the guest book beside it. The book was old-bound in faded leather, warped with moisture. The first page was dated 1987. The first name was Jonathan Black. The next page was blank. The next was scratched out. So was the next, and the next. Page after page, names scratched out with deep gouges, like someone used a key or a nail. My name wasn't in it yet, but I knew somehow that it would be. I unpacked slowly. Not because I brought much, just a backpack and a grocery bag, but because the silence was deafening. There was no hum of traffic, no distant airplane, not even wind brushing through the pines. Just the slow, steady creak of the porch rocker swaying by itself. Inside, the temperature was oddly comfortable. No AC, no heater, no open windows. Yet the air felt just right, a little too right. The cabin had a strange symmetry to it. Every object, the lamp, the couch, the rug, looked like it had been placed with obsessive precision. Nothing was out of line. It was like someone had scrubbed every inch of life out of the place and then put just enough back in to make it look lived in. I moved to the bedroom. One queen bed, crisp white sheets, a circular mirror hung above the dresser. I remembered the note. No mirrors after dark. I grabbed a towel from my bag and draped it over the mirror. Not because I believed it, but because a part of me didn't want to test it. By 7:30 p.m., I had eaten a cold sandwich and finished half a bottle of water. I was sitting on the porch swing, watching the trees turn black as night swallowed the forest. I'd left my phone charging inside. No signal. No, not a single bar. I wasn't surprised. What did surprise me was how quickly the darkness fell. No gradual sunset. No orange horizon. Just lights out. One minute I could see the treetops swaying. The next, they were gone, eaten by the shadows. Like the forest had swallowed the sky. I sat still, rocking slowly. The kind of stillness you only experience when you're truly alone. Then I heard it, knocking. Not from the front door, from the back. But there was no back door. My skin prickled. I stood slowly and stepped inside, locking the front door behind me. I moved down the hall, past the kitchen, to where I remembered nothing but a blank wall. And now there was a door. White, plain, with a brass knob that hadn't been there earlier. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared at it as if doing so would erase it. Then came the knock again. 3 times. Sharp, hollow, deliberate. I backed away, heart thudding. The rules. I remembered the rules. If someone knocks, do not answer. I stumbled backward into the living room, switched on the overhead light, and instantly wished I hadn't. Every photo on the wall, nature landscapes, sepia portraits now featured the same man standing in the background. Tall, pale, featureless face, in every picture, in a different pose, sometimes far, sometimes inches from the frame, as if he'd been moving closer the longer I stayed. I turned off the light. Darkness felt safer. I didn't sleep that night. I laid on the bed, flashlight gripped in one hand, the towel still covering the mirror. I kept hearing things, whispers in the walls, something pacing outside the cabin, the occasional soft knock from the back. Each time I told myself, don't answer, don't go near it. But the strangest thing? Around 3 a.m., I swear I heard a voice whisper my name. Softly, from the hallway. It wasn't threatening. It sounded sad. Like someone who had been waiting for a long time. Morning came suddenly. The light burst in too bright, as if it had been held back all night and then let loose at once. Everything looked normal again. The white door at the back, gone. Just a blank wall again. The photos on the wall returned to their original, unremarkable versions. No tall man, no faces, no figures. It was as if the cabin had reset itself. I checked my phone. Battery drained. No notifications, no signal. The photo of the rules on the fridge, gone from my gallery. I scrolled and scrolled. Nothing. I stepped outside. The air felt thinner, lighter, but colder somehow. I looked at the trees and paused. There were fewer of them. I was sure of it. The tree line that had once hugged the cabin had receded. The forest had moved back. And in the space between, something else was growing. Something that looked like graves. 5 small mounds of earth, each with a flat stone pressed into the soil. No names, just symbols I didn't recognize. Curved markings like ancient runes or tally marks. 5 mounds. But I knew deep down there had been 6. One had just been waiting. I went back inside. The guest book was open on the table again. This time, a new name had been written in red ink. Michael R., my name, my full name. I hadn't written it, and yet there it was. Below it, scratched in thin black ink. 1 down, 2 nights left. That night, something inside the cabin changed. Not dramatically, not like the movies with slamming doors or bloody messages on the wall. This was worse, subtler. The kind of change you feel before you see like the air itself is breathing differently. After seeing my name in the guest book, I ripped the page out and tried to burn it in the fireplace. The paper wouldn't catch fire. It just curled, blackened at the edges, and then reappeared back on the table an hour later, perfectly smooth. It wasn't just the book. The fridge note had changed. Welcome. Please respect the house. No mirrors after dark. Don't open the basement door. They always knock first. Enjoy your stay. They? I didn't want to know who they were. I tried to distract myself. I lit a fire, made some instant noodles, and sat on the couch with my notebook journaling the events like I always did during solo trips. But my handwriting looked different, tighter, not mine. I kept writing anyway, trying to stay grounded. This place is playing tricks on me. Probably mold or carbon monoxide. Maybe I'm sleep deprived. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's real. But then I heard it again. Knocking. This time it wasn't coming from the back. It was coming from inside the walls. Not loud, not desperate. Just patient. Knock. Pause. Knock, knock. I sat frozen on the couch, staring at the wall to my left where the bedroom lay behind it. 3 soft knocks tapped again, like knuckles on drywall. Then silence. I checked the time. 1:13 a.m. I stood up and walked the hallway. Every step echoed too loud in the still air. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. But as I turned back toward the living room, I saw it. The mirror in the bedroom, the towel I'd placed over it, had slipped off. My stomach dropped. I didn't touch it. Didn't even enter the room. But I could see myself from the hallway reflected in the mirror. Just enough. Only I wasn't moving. My reflection was still. My body stood frozen in the mirror while my real self shook in the hallway. And then the reflection smiled. Slow, crooked, wide. I slammed the bedroom door shut and dragged a chair against it. My heart pounded like a jackhammer. I felt sick, nauseous, unsteady. I stumbled into the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. When I looked up, the bathroom mirror was gone. It had been replaced by a dark window. Only, the bathroom had no windows. In the reflection of that black pane, I could see someone standing behind me. Tall, still, barely visible like a silhouette underwater. I spun around. No one there. When I looked back at the mirror window, it was just a regular mirror again. I didn't sleep in the bed. I laid on the floor of the living room, facing the front door, flashlight in hand. I thought about checking out early, hiking back to my car and driving away. But when I checked my phone again, it was completely dead. I hadn't used it all day. I tried plugging it in. The charger sparked once and then went cold. The fire in the fireplace burned lower than it should have, like it was trying to die, even with fresh wood. At some point, I must have passed out. I woke up around 5:30 a.m. It was still dark, the kind of dark where even the fire looked blue. But something had changed again. The front door was wide open. Cold air bled into the room. Pine needles scattered across the floor. And someone had placed the guest book in front of me. Open to a new page. 2 lines written neatly. First night completed. Your mirror likes you. I walked outside barefoot into the freezing grass. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to see if the forest was still the same. It wasn't. More trees were gone. In their place, 7 fresh mounds of soil, like graves, but shallower, messier. One had a small mirror sticking out of it like a broken tombstone. My reflection in it was still smiling. I ran back inside and slammed the door. The mirror in the bedroom was back to normal, towel still on. The mirror in the bathroom had shattered. Not broken, shattered from the inside. And then I saw it. A new door. At the end of the hallway, across from the bedroom, where there had been just a wall yesterday, now a door. Plain, wooden, slightly ajar. The basement. I didn't open it. Not yet. But I could hear whispers leaking out. Not words. Just breathing. Wet. Heavy. Like something too large for the house was pressed just behind it, waiting. I returned to the living room, clutching the dead phone like a weapon. I curled up on the couch, not even pretending I'd sleep. The last thing I saw before the sun rose was the porch rocking chair. Still, empty. And then, it began to rock again. On its own. The sun rose late. It was already 8 a.m. by the time the light filtered through the trees. But it didn't feel like day. The sun hung dim and pale, like a dying bulb behind storm glass. Shadows clung to the porch as if they had nowhere else to go. I stepped outside for air. The forest was silent. Dead silent. The graves were still there, 8 now. And one of them had my notebook sitting on top. I hadn't brought it outside. I walked toward it, hands shaking. The notebook was open to a fresh page I didn't remember writing. Scrawled in frantic, jagged loops. He sees through the mirrors. The house watches back. Below that, smaller, shakier. You're not the first. You won't be the last. And then my own signature. Exactly how I sign forms. My full name, my handwriting. Only I never wrote it. I stuffed the book back into my bag and returned to the cabin. My legs were trembling. I tried to leave. I packed, grabbed my keys, and began walking back toward the red marker stone where I'd parked the car. I walked and walked. The trees blurred together like a looping hallway. No stone, no road, just forest. Eventually I saw something ahead through the branches, a familiar porch, a rocking chair, a door left slightly ajar. The cabin. I had walked in a circle. No matter what direction I went, I came back here. The forest wouldn't let me go. Back inside, the house had changed again. You know, the rules on the fridge were rewritten, still the same handwriting, but the lines were rearranged. Don't trust reflections. No mirrors after dark. The basement wants your name. If they knock, count to 13. Never stay longer than 3 nights. The last one was underlined twice. I checked the guest book. A new entry had appeared below mine. No name, just a black fingerprint. And beneath it, you've already stayed too long. Quote, that night the cabin felt tighter. The walls looked closer, the ceiling lower. The mirror in the bedroom, the towel had burned away, just curled black ash on the floor. And the reflection, it was me, but blinking out of sync. Eyes flicking side to side, lips twitching in silence. A delayed echo of who I was. When I turned away, the reflection kept watching me, even after I left the room. I heard movement again, not knocking this time. Footsteps, upstairs, but the cabin had no second floor. Still soft creaks crossed the ceiling. Then something heavy dropped, thudded, and dragged across the floor above. I followed the sound into the hallway, flashlight trembling in my hand. That's when I saw the new door. The basement again. This time it was wide open. Black stairs descended into pitch nothingness, colder than the grave. The air smelled like rotting paper and wet iron. I took a step down, then another. 13 steps. At the bottom, nothing. Just silence. Until I turned around and saw the walls lined with mirrors. Not modern ones, cracked antique mirrors. Some shaped like ovals, others tall and jagged like church windows. Dozens of them stacked from floor to ceiling, but none of them reflected me. They reflected other people. A woman in a blood-stained wedding dress, sobbing silently. A child curled in a corner, mouthing something on repeat. A man who looked just like me, but his eyes were missing. And in the center of the room, nailed to a wooden pillar, was an old camcorder, still recording. Its lens slowly turned toward me. I ran. I flew up the stairs, slammed the door, and locked it, but the lock snapped off in my hand like it had rusted through. Behind the door, I heard something whisper. Something low, curious, familiar. You should never have opened it. The guest book was waiting on the couch when I came back to the living room. 2 new names had been added. One was mine, rewritten. The other just said, The Reflection. Below it, a warning. Tomorrow you'll forget how your voice sounds. Then, your name. Then, which side of the mirror you came from. I tried to sleep. Not because I believed it would help, but because exhaustion made everything spin. But sleep didn't come. At some point during the night, the lights in the cabin all turned off at once. Total darkness. I heard the front door creak open. Footsteps padded inside. Bare feet. Wet. Something stood above me while I pretended to sleep so close I could feel it breathe. It whispered something in a low, wet voice. Night 2 is always the hardest. And then it left. Or maybe I just dreamed it left. I didn't move until dawn. When I finally opened my eyes, the living room mirror had appeared again above the fireplace. It showed 2 of me, and one of them was waving. The sun didn't rise on the 3rd morning. The sky turned a faint gray like a dirty sheet pulled over a dying bulb. The trees outside looked warped, taller, bonier, bending toward the cabin, like they were eavesdropping. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My voice was gone. No sore throat, no pain, just absence. My mouth moved, my lungs worked, but sound wouldn't come out. And in the mirror above the fireplace, my reflection opened its mouth and laughed. The fridge note had changed again. Scrawled hastily this time as if written by a trembling hand. It knows you're aware, that's when it gets worse. A second note, folded and stuck beneath the first with a rusted knife. The door wasn't always there, but it is now. Don't go through it, no matter what it says. By mid-afternoon, the cabin had grown silent. Not the peaceful silence from day 1, but something pressurized, like the air was holding its breath, waiting. And then I saw it. A new door in the hallway, wider than the others, older, covered in locks, each one open. I blinked. Gone. I blinked again. Back, but closer. It was moving, shifting forward by inches every time I looked away. By nightfall, it had reached the living room. I tried to barricade it, drag the couch in front, chairs, the coffee table. It didn't matter. I turned away for a second and everything was back in place. The door pulsed like it was breathing. Around 11 p.m., the knocking began again. But this time it didn't come from behind the door. It came from inside the mirror. My reflection stared at me. Then slowly, it raised a hand and knocked against the glass. Once, twice, 13 times. I counted. Couldn't help it. The sound echoed through the house like a heartbeat. When I looked back, my reflection was gone. The guest book had moved again. This time it was waiting on my chest when I woke from a brief, choking nap. Open to a new page, a countdown. 1 night remaining. One side must stay, one side must go. There were 2 blank lines, both under my name. I screamed. No sound, The cabin listened anyway. The basement door creaked open on its own. No wind, no movement, just invitation. And this time I saw it, a figure at the bottom of the stairs. Not in the mirrors, not a shadow, a real shape. Me, standing in the dark, staring up, smiling. The lights in the house began to blink, one by one. Each blink left them dimmer, redder like emergency lights before blackout. On the seventh blink, the power died entirely. And that door, the one that wasn't always there, creaked open. From inside came a voice, my voice. But it was wrong, hollow, echoing like it came from deep inside a tunnel. You've been chosen. The cabin needs one of you. Decide. I backed away. My hands hit the wall, cold, sticky. When I turned, the walls were covered in handprints. Some small, some massive, some identical to mine. And above them, a sentence written in blood-like ink. Nobody leaves who doesn't choose. I stumbled into the kitchen, searching for something, anything, a weapon, a key, a clue. Instead, I found my backpack already packed. Phone inside, notebook sealed shut with wax I didn't own. And on top, a Polaroid photo of me, standing outside the cabin, smiling, holding the guest book. The timestamp? Tomorrow, 6 a.m. I didn't sleep. I sat on the porch until the gray dawn bled through the trees. The forest had changed again. Now there were 9 graves. And beside the last one, a mirror, full length, standing upright in the dirt like a tombstone. And my reflection, it had already left. The final night began before the sun went down. It was only 5 p.m. when the sky dimmed like a curtain being pulled across the world. The air outside was too still, as if even the wind had abandoned the place. Inside the cabin, it was colder than ever. But not the kind of cold that came from open windows or poor insulation. It was internal, like the house was freezing from the inside out. And then, without warning, the mirrors returned. Every wall, every hallway, every corner that had once been blank now had a mirror nailed to it. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all different sizes, shapes, and ages. Some reflected my movements, some didn't. And one in the hallway, the tallest one, showed me sleeping on the porch, though I was clearly standing right in front of it. I reached out. My hand didn't reflect. Only the me on the porch moved, twitching in a way that didn't seem restful, more like waiting. At 7:13 p.m., the knocking started again, this time from everywhere. Inside the fridge, under the floorboards, from inside the TV, even though it wasn't plugged in. And loudest of all, the basement. The door was wide open. A mirror set at the top of the stairs. And behind it, me. Not just mimicking me, mocking me. It opened its mouth. It's time. The guest book was waiting by the fireplace. 3 names now. Mine. The reflection. And the third, just a long black line, like ink that had spilled across the page and refused to dry. Underneath it, only one stays. Choose. I stared into the fire. But the flames weren't warm anymore. They were flickering in reverse, pulling in light, sucking it back into the logs, turning everything dark. I felt dizzy. The walls of the cabin began to breathe. In, out, in, out. With each breath, the rooms changed slightly. The couch shifted. A photo frame tilted. The clock ran backward. And then the final rule appeared on the fridge. Burned into the metal. Letters black and cracked. Choose or be chosen. I walked toward the basement. I didn't want to. But the floorboards tilted toward it like the cabin was leaning, urging, compelling me. At the top of the stairs, the air smelled like wax and rot. At the bottom, mirrors. Dozens of them. Each one showed a different me. Some smiling, some screaming. One staring directly at me, mouthing something over and over again. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Then a door appeared in the back of the basement. Old, heavy, covered in locks. One by one, they clicked open. The door creaked, and there, in the room beyond, was my reflection. But not distorted, not mocking, just waiting. It looked at me with calm, hollow eyes and stepped forward. Then it spoke aloud in my voice. It has to be one of us. This place doesn't forget. Do you want to stay or disappear? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I had no voice left. The reflection stepped closer and extended a hand. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Its shadow didn't match mine. It stretched the wrong way. It flickered in candlelight I couldn't see. It was the house, or something tied to it, bound through every mirror, every rule, every former guest. I turned and ran, through the basement, up the stairs, out the front door. But the forest was gone, just white, endless white, like paper, like the world had been erased. I turned back, but the cabin was no longer behind me, just my reflection, standing in the snow, smiling. And then it stepped into me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back inside, sitting on the couch. Morning light poured through the windows. The house looked normal. No extra doors, no mirrors, no guest book. I stood. My limbs felt strange, my movements off by a fraction of a second. I walked to the bathroom mirror, looked in, stared, and smiled. Not because I wanted to, because something else did. Outside, a car pulled into the driveway. A new visitor, a man, backpack in hand. He waved at the cabin. I waved back.